out the rest of the Street Fest beyond just, grabbing our dinner and talking to
the Kia
some
guys,
of the Kia folks, because they were right there by the food truck that we picked, and they were great.
Oh yeah, fantastic. They were so nice, and they were really excited to meet us and to learn about what we were doing there, and kind of our expectations. And one of the things one of the gentlemen said was, "Wow, your story, I just love it that you're driving so far and you're so excited, and you're bought in on this car." And he said every day we have to come back with a takeaway from something that we learned or someone that we talked to, and he's like, "You are my takeaway for today." And so that made us happy, that gave us a little boost, I think. But then the other thing that they shared was that some other people had been down earlier from the show and said that they were disappointed because the EV6 wasn't there. And we were like, no, it's supposed to be there. We were told it was going to be here. It was on the website. And so we decided we would scarf down our dinner and go on and run upstairs and go to the show and see what we could find out.
Yeah, and so that allows us to transition and kind of into the realities of the show. So one, because a lot of places are still, having COVID issues and things like that, and we didn't know what to expect from an attendance perspective anyway. There wasn't a ton of people on the Friday nights.
Right.
But it was great. It allowed us to look around, not being too hampered by anybody else wanting to check out vehicles that perhaps we were looking at. I think one of the things that we ran into, though, was because this was the Friday and we weren't press did their stuff Thursday, there was definitely some limitations what regular folks could do and touch and see versus what the press could. So that was unfortunate to find out.
Sure. And it would have been better had we known what we were going to see or be able to see before making the commitment to drive all this way.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into a reoccurring information theme that we will discuss throughout this episode.
Right.
But it certainly, speaks to Kia more than a lot of the other manufacturers. Oh. From an information perspective.
Sure.
Yeah. But in general, I mean, most of the reps were very knowledgeable. And I guess you can look at it as all the reps were knowledgeable with one exception, given the information that they were given, right? I mean, a lot of times when you're working a show, you are limited as to what you can and can't say to people. We get that. They want to keep things secret or whatnot. The downside was since the hype was there, and of course they had that lackluster North American reveal and things like that, it would have been nice if they released new information to continue that interest curve, to continue the hype curve, because that, especially for us, I mean, we driving 6 hours, we're thirsty for information, especially with regards to the first edition, because we had it ordered. So please, if you have any new information you can tell us about our first edition and stuff, that'd be fantastic.
Right.
So that was the only frustrating part, but I certainly don't blame them. That's something I kind of blame on Kia American Corporate, if I'm gonna blame anybody.
So anyway, we walk into the show, and the EV6 is on stage, their showpiece car, spinning around on the platform, and my heart breaks.
Yeah. Well, why does your heart break?
Because I know that those are the cars you can't touch.
Right.
From my experience, you can't touch those.
Because it's on the main stage, so it's blocked off, walled off, however you want to discuss it. And yeah, it was not anywhere else on the show floor, except the GMP platform reference thingy, the skeleton and things like that. But
right.
That's just the platform. So
yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of disappointing. It was like you could hear the heart crush a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, all this drive just to see it was kind of going to be frustrating. But
so they were giving out backpacks, and so they were like, well, if you want to give us your information, we'll give you some information on the car. Great, we were looking for information on the car, and we'll give you a backpack. Super, let's get a backpack. So the lady comes over and she's taking my information, and she's like, what is your interest? And I said, well, we're here for the Kia EV6. I cannot say that. I need to learn. We're here for that car, and we just drove 16 hours straight through to be able to touch this car and look inside because we are first edition purchasers. And our expectation is that we're going to get to look inside the car. You know, we'd love to have test drove the car, but, you know, is there any way that we can physically touch this car? And she's like, well, let me see what I can do.
And?
She did it.
Yeah.
We got up on stage. They slowed it down for us, and eventually they turned the stage off. Yeah. But we couldn't sit inside of it. Mm-hmm. But we did get to touch everything, open all the doors, open all the trunks and frunks and, you know, everything. And oh my gosh. Yeah. We made the right decision.
It was really good. We felt, you know, really special because we weren't pressed. I mean, our channel hadn't been even turned on at that point.
Sure.
So I mean, they didn't really have to do anything for us. I mean, you know, we always look at ourselves, you know, we're a nobody from that perspective, right? So we were extremely grateful that the Kia folks and really everyone at Kia, we can't speak highly enough of. They all were fantastic from top to bottom. They provide such a great experience, and then going above and beyond and allowing, you know, stopping the platform and allowing us to film content. And if I can, you know, figure out Adobe Premiere enough, I'll try to splice in some of that footage. If not, I'll maybe put up a raw video footage of all of our interactions. But it's even better in person. So if you have positive feedback on other videos of what you saw, they're only better in person. That's all I can say. It was just, I mean, it wasn't the GT version, of course, but it was.
We don't know if it was the first edition version,
right?
But we know we liked what we saw.
We absolutely liked what we saw. I think it was really the first edition because it seemed to have what we know of the GT line, but without the GT line body. Mm-hmm. Or at least it didn't have the GT line marking on the back. Either way, fantastic looking all around. The full 360 was beautiful. Being able to reach inside and check it out, it was great. And Carla from Burbank, she was really nice and really helpful. And again, her and the team on the show floor were extremely thankful for them to allowing us to just check it out and be that hands-on, even though we weren't press. And whatnot. So that was Kia really stepped up and made the show, because it would have been heart crushing had they not allowed us to do that. I mean, speaking personally, it would have completely deflated me. It really would have, because the expectations were there, and again, because they said it was going to be shown there, and I think it goes back to the information. You know, I think it behooves all the manufacturers to be explicit about what's going to be at the show and what kind of interactivity you can have with those models, because if people are planning their time off, regardless of how long it takes you to get to a show, you deserve to know what you can and can't do in order to make the best educated decision possible. I mean, we were not worried about the entrance fee to the show. I mean, we paid for it twice just so we could do the Street Fest on the Friday night and then go back again on Saturday for more, and that's fine. But you know, 16 hours does take time out of, you know, we had our days off. It takes time from a monetary perspective, from a mileage perspective on my current baby. All that kind of stuff adds up. So kudos to Kia.
And an additional expense that was not planned. Going through St. Louis, we got hit in the windshield by a rock.
Yeah.
Which ended up, you know, splitting the windshield.
It split really fast because we immediately looked for a glass place, because we thought, okay, look, if we can get to it quickly, maybe they can use that filler fluid and we'll be fine. And so it didn't take us long to find a glass dealer, and they're like, yeah, too late. So, and by the time we got home, it was all the way up through our windshield, and we ended up getting it replaced, but that's an added cost we're happy to pay because it was such a great experience.
Yeah.
So, so that covers Kia.
Sure. So the next dealer that we looked at was the Nissan.
Well, actually, before we finish up in Kia, let's talk about day 2.
Okay.
Because that's when we went and downstairs and we talked to the
same guys from the night
before, as well as other people from Kia, because they were allowing you to test drive their entire lineup, including the Stinger, the K5 and things like that. So that was kind of nice that they were allowing you to test their entire lineup, minus the EV6, of course. And it was great to test the current Nero, because that is their current EV, and we felt that that might give us a sense of, you know, where they're at now. And we know EV6, you know, knock on wood, will be better.
Right.
And then the interesting thing was, you know, Paige did the initial test drive, and I was in the back, and it rode fantastic. I really can't say enough positive things about the Nero. I mean, it's certainly not a vehicle for us, but that's a vehicle that we could recommend all day and all night to people.
Sure.
It was really, really good. But when we got back, one of the guys was asking if we tried it in sport mode. I'm like, I didn't even know it had sport mode. So I did the test drive in sport mode, and yeah, more pickup. The EV6 will be faster, of course, but it was nice to get a more accelerated and more towards the experience of the EV6 acceleration experience, because that's what I like to look at. For me, I like that sensation. So that was good to experience. And again, it drove well, handled well, all the kind of stuff that you would expect from a Nero, right? It's not a sports car. It's a great all around SUV crossover. I'm not sure how they categorize it.
And then one thing that we saw on Friday night, and we test drove it because the display model was beautiful. It was in an area where you couldn't touch it, but it looked so sharp, and we will try to post a picture of it so that you can see what we're talking about. Was the Kia Sorento. And they let us drive it, and it's their 7-seater, and it has the same wheelbase as the EV6. It has the same wheelbase as the Sorento. So we thought, well, it'll give us a kind of a feel of how long the car is and maybe how to manage it and stuff. And oh, that Sorento is beautiful. Well,
so the wheelbase, I'm not sure if it's if the Sorento is the equal match. I know the Telluride is.
Oh, okay.
Telluride is. I don't know how that compares to the sport, the Sorento. But the other reason why we wanted to do the Sorento was to get a better feel for the interior quality.
Yes.
Because we knew that the interior of the Nero, while nice, wasn't representative of what the EV6 would be, and we knew what they were showing up on the floor, but we knew that wasn't representative potentially of what the first edition interior would be. So we wanted to make sure that we had the overall experience of, you know, how well Kia can pull off that higher quality interior. So that was a great experience. And plus it gave us insight of into their software platform, as far as, you know, the camera and the turns and checking the
that was really neat.
Yeah,
I have some good footage of that.
Traffic beside you and things like that. So a lot of the preventive software. So that was a great overall experience to take into account as well. And then, as Paige said, we will try to dig up the photo of the display model that they had. It was kind of, I said it was kind of like Jeep-ish, because they really made it utilitarian. That is a strong color design, a great aggressive front look with the big knobby tires, and it just looked hella sharp. So if I were in a market for that, that would be one I'd be like, oh, please bring this to market. It looks fantastic. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think that covers. I'm just looking at Paige's notes. I think that covers. And the last thing for Kia was on the second day. We were wearing our shirts the second day because we were prepared. They took pictures of us to add to their second day takeaway. So, and then, you know, we will hopefully at some point maybe we'll win a free vehicle because we're in that drawing too. So.
Who
knows? That'd be freaking fantastic.
They kept saying, you need to talk to Kia. You need to get them to see your channel. And we're like, okay, we're really, you know, early on in this, but you just tell
expectations,
them.
Yeah. So
tell them our names.
Exactly. Spread the word. We are definitely Kia fans, and we're glad we made that decision. So.